Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad. One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim? Guys, Chico, they never lie. That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute. Forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Peace and blessings. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Friday, good people. I hope all is well. The weekend is upon us. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy your days off. Please, whatever you do, don't burn through it. And try to enjoy every moment. Shout outs to my poets, writers, content creators, and all in between. Let's get that out the way. I got a clip that I want to run by y'all. To be honest with you, I haven't even watched it all the way through yet, but I thought it was interesting. So I want to play it. Then I'm just going to give my perspective. And maybe at some point before the stream is over with, or maybe even after, just leave your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with anything that she says? Want to add anything to it? I'm all for it. So let me bring this up on a big screen real quick. There we go. I'm gonna let her cook. Let me make sure everything's straight. And let's get into it.
So this is something I've been wanting to talk about because I think this is a very important conversation to be had. As far as friendships go versus relationships, I really don't like when like someone who is very close to you or your best friend or whatever tells you, oh, well, you'll give a man a million chances, but you won't give your friends. You quick to cut your friends off. Babe, for every man that you feel like I've given a lot of chances to, where are they? They're not here. And where are you? You're still in my life. We've been friends 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. You talking about the chances I gave them. There's no way that you think you're such a perfect friend that you have never done anything to hurt me, upset me, offend me, that I have forgiven. Like, there's no way you don't think that I've forgiven you for multiple things over the years. It's probably stuff that you done did that you don't even know that you did that I've forgiven you for. Also, that's a completely different relationship. Don't be comparing yourself to nobody that I'm laying in the bed with. That's a whole different type of relationship. And honestly, I do expect more from you because you are my best friend. You are somebody that's close to me. You are somebody that I love truly and dearly. And the people that you love the deepest and the most will hurt you more than more than somebody that's only been here a month or two or whatever, a year. You've been here a good chunk of my life. You've been here. And for you to think that you're such a perfect person, and I can call that out because I know I haven't been a perfect friend to people. I know that there are things that people have forgiven me for that I don't even know that I did. Like, we got to be real with ourselves because we're not perfect people. Give your friends grace, okay? Please. And cut that shit out. So
Sid, good evening, Chef. What up? Did you get a chance to hear that whole thing, or do I need to run it back?
I think I missed the very beginning, but if I know the topic, I think I can probably figure out what to say.
I'll run it back one more time for clarity. Let me see.
We could not.
This is something I've been wanting to talk about because I think this is a very important conversation to be had. As far as friendships go versus relationships, I really don't like when like someone who is very close to you or your best friend or whatever tells you, oh, well, you'll give a man a million chances, but you won't give your friends. You quick to cut your friends off. Babe, for every man that you feel like I've given a lot of chances to, where are they? They're not here. And where are you? You're still in my life. We've been friends 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. You talking about the chances I gave them. There's no way that you think you're such a perfect friend that you have never done anything to hurt me, upset me, offend me, that I have forgiven. Like, there's no way you don't think that I've forgiven you for multiple things over the years. It's probably stuff that you done did that you don't even know that you did that I've forgiven you for. Also, that's a completely different relationship. Don't be comparing yourself to nobody that I'm laying in the bed with. That's a whole different type of relationship. And honestly, I do expect more from you because you are my best friend. You are somebody that's close to me. You are somebody that I love truly and dearly. And the people that you love the deepest and the most will hurt you more than more than somebody that's only been here a month or two or whatever, a year. You've been here a good chunk of my life. You've been here. And for you to think that you're such a perfect person, and I can call that out because I know I haven't been a perfect friend to people. I know that there are things that people have forgiven me for that I don't even know that I did. Like, we got to be real with ourselves because we're not perfect people. Give your friends grace, okay? Please. And cut that shit out. So this is...
All right. So I think what she's arguing is there being a big difference. Who should get more leniency, the friend or the spouse? I think that's what she's angling at, because from what I'm hearing, the friend seems to think that men or women tend to have more forgiveness for the person that they're sleeping with, and they're more likely quick to cut the person that's been there with them longer off for this person, which you ain't really known this long. So I think that's what I gathered from it. There's other little pieces that I want to touch on, but I wanted to replay it so you got the full understanding of what the topic was.
Yeah, I definitely agree with her in some circumstances, but I don't know. I feel like I hold people fairly equally, where if it doesn't really matter who you are, it depends on how you treat me. And I also have a bunch of thoughts, so I'll probably come back around on a lot of these things. Um, but also with relationships, you do, especially if you're married, you do kind of have a lot more invested in than just a friendship. And it would make it easier to forgive somebody because otherwise you'd just be getting divorced over nothing. Um, so at face value, I think there's some truth to it, but it also, you do have to consider the situation.
Uh, if you cross me and we're intimate versus crossing me and we're just best buddies, as far as I'm concerned, both of them are probably going to be on par as far as how I would feel with betrayal or hurt. Uh, I don't think one topples the other one. In extreme, it really would depend on the circumstances, but there is more seniority when you are actually with someone under the same roof. I'm not talking about you playing house. If you pay bills together, you know each other's blood type, and you make each other's doctor's appointments and stuff like that, you definitely have more expectations out of that person versus someone that you hang out with and maybe went to school with and things of that nature, because at some point, yeah, life goes in separate directions. But as far as one being over the other, it really depends on the person too, and what the problem was. I mean, because just because I've known you for 20, 30 years, that don't mean nothing. Just because I've been married to you for 2, 3 years, that don't mean nothing. It's it's damn. Yeah, this is a toughie. If it ain't got nothing to do with infidelity, and oh man, yeah, this is about to be a long one, because I'm trying to think of scenarios where it's like, all right, best friend lied to me about something that had something to do with money, then it cost me. Versus if the girlfriend stepped out of the relationship and was cheating or flirting with someone, which one would I more likely be able to forgive more? I don't know. At this point, I'm cutting everybody off. Like it would really depend on the extreme, or if it was really overboard.
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic because it's like in certain circumstances, I would favor my friend, But in other circumstances, I would favor the relationship in terms of like forgiveness. Um, I feel like there's a lot more I'd be willing to forgive in a relationship, especially like because I'm considering it from my perspective. We've been together almost 11 years and we have a life built together. I live with him, we have kids together. If he did something wrong, I wouldn't even have the option to even cut him off. And not that I like if he did something like extremely severe, extremely significant, um it even in those circumstances, it would depend on what he did. Um so yeah, but then I also like I've cut people off for very simple things. Um I've cut off friends, I've cut off relationships, both for simple things. But again, I think instead of who it is, it really depends on how they respond. Um, for example, if you have a friend that does this particular thing over and over and over again, and they're showing you that they're not willing to make a change, they don't care to make a change, they don't respect you enough to make the change, then there's that. And it partner or friend in either circumstance, most people would probably cut them off because they're like, if you're going to do this over and over and over again, I can't do it. I'm done. But if you make a mistake and it's few and far between, whether it's a relationship or a friendship, it would be easier to forgive. But then there are also certain lines that we personally draw, that if you are in a relationship with somebody, whether it's romantic or friendship, and they cross that line, I think a lot of people, it wouldn't matter who it was either. It would matter that they crossed the line. So yeah, there's a ton of complexities within this one particular question. But I think it's an interesting conversation, and I do notice that at least from an outside perspective, from what I see on social media, um, there's even two types of, at least from a woman's perspective, there's some women that will be like undyingly for their friends, and then there will be people that are undying for their relationship. And I mean, it's on both sides. Like you have men that are like they'll die for their girlfriend, but there's also others that are like diehards for their guy friends. So personality, reasoning, the friendship itself or the relationship itself, I think there's a ton of factors that would go into a decision like that.
I think Chef pretty much summed it up for me. There are different levels to each and every one of them, and you got to categorize them appropriately. But when it really boils down to it, it's about the boundaries. If they were crossed, is it something that is going to affect the relationship, whichever one it is? Is it going to affect to the point to where you have to make a crucial decision, or is it kind of just like, well, it's not like that bad, so I can kind of do away with that. Overall, it really just depends on you, the other person, what you really actually expect out of the friendship or out of the partnership or out of the relationship, whichever one it is. And are you confident enough to make the appropriate call when the time comes for it? Now I can understand what she was saying about there being people out here that would choose their relationship over their friends. In those cases, I think people expect you to just tolerate crap. They see you tolerate it with somebody else and think that it's the same thing as them doing it. So if you can let them get away with something, then it's okay for me to get away with it. The difference is two different crimes, two different scenarios. One might be worse than the other one. If it's a situation where you both are doing the same thing to me, and you're saying I did this, why are you okay with them and they did it, and you with laying with them, it should hit you 10 times worse. But you got an issue with me. If you be fair all across the board, keep the same energy for them that you will with me. I think that's what she was talking about. Or maybe she's not saying that. Maybe what she's saying is, hell, I got seniority because I was here longer. So just because you was a friend with a person for 30 years, 10, 15 years, that means that y'all was on solid ground the whole time. That gives you the right to continue in a pattern that the other person isn't cool with. So there's no expiration date on toxic friendships, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. We're just supposed to stay in it. That's what I got.
I think also we have to consider that generally a much, much higher percentage of your friendships are going to be longer than your relationships because it's exceedingly rare for people to be in a relationship from 12, 13, 14 up. Like most people find their partners between like 20s, 30s, 40s. So naturally, most of your friendships, or not most of them, but assuming you're maintaining them and you yourself is a good friend, a lot of friendships are going to be older than your relationship with your significant other. Um, like for example, I have one friend that's from high school. I have another friend from the beginning of college, and I met my husband towards the middle end to college. So I have quite a number of friends that are from before I even met my partner. But I also weigh my husband way more than them because one, I don't live with them. I'm far away from them. Most of my friends I don't actually get to hang out with in person. Um, and I I in terms of like fractures in the relationship, I still think I would have similar like boundaries. Um, like I would have similar boundaries with both of them, but in terms of like how I regard them, my husband's definitely way way above any of my friends in terms of like priority. Um, like if I was on the phone with my best friend, I would still tell her like, "Oh, hey, my husband's back, so I'm probably gonna have to go soon or something like that." Because there's a difference in like responsibility to the other person. So even though I've been friends with people much longer, I have a deeper loyalty to the person that I'm in a relationship with. Um, and so I feel like when it comes to conflict, that would also still apply. Um, for example, like I have friends that I have stopped talking to because of ideological differences that I just couldn't get over. Um, and I would end relationships for ideological differences, but it's only ones that are like super important to me. That again, like drawing lines. Um, but like we have differing opinions of things. But it would take a lot more for me to be like, oh, I disagree with you. I can't do this. We're over. Than it would for a friend. Like I had a friend that did not participate in some stuff that I felt like she should have been doing. And it what it was related to was against my beliefs, and so I have significantly reduced how much I talk to her because just knowing that she believes those things makes it really hard for me to want to be her friend. Um, but then there are, again, other things that I disagree with my husband on, but it doesn't have the same impact unless it like actually affected us. Like the way he thinks doesn't actually affect how we live, as long as our fundamental beliefs are the same. I don't know if that made sense, but yeah.
Yeah, you have the what's the word? The platonic. Hey, buddy, how you doing? You go out and you do goofy stuff. You go bowling. Y'all have man talk, girl talk. You probably drink whatever your leisure is, and then you have the actual relationship where now you're actually crossing the line. You're intimate with this person. It's not this like you take it a step further with them, which should by default give them a little more headway than the other person. You could share of your intimate moments and talk about your family and how you grew up. You can do all of these things with your best friend. I think your partner's supposed to be your best friend personally. That might be a whole nother subject matter in itself. But once you swap fluids and you start to exchange spiritual energy with the other person, there's a different level of trust that goes into that. And I don't know if people really understand that or grasp how serious it is. Forgiveness is not for them, it's always for you. If you are really a person's friend or you're really locked in with the other man or woman and it's a serious connection there, depending on what it is, at this age we should know when a person is really trying to fix the problem or if they don't really care about fixing it, and you have to decide if this needs to be cut off, period. There's a reason why you have romantic interest in this person. There's a reason why you opened up in that way to this person and not them. So when things happen within the relationship, of course, it's going to be a little more difficult being the outsider looking in, trying to tell them, look, And what they did here, you need to go ahead and do something about that. It's going to be harder for them to figure that out versus it's a man. Me personally, I can't speak for everybody else. Two things. I need to know that you if I make the mistake in the friendship or in the relationship, then I'm just casual about it. I don't care to resolve it. I don't care to acknowledge my part. Whatever the line is, I don't do nothing to fix it. Then, as far as I'm concerned, you got every right to cut me off or walk away. Because who wants to have that around them? I think that's how it should be in general. I shouldn't have to force you. First of all, it shouldn't have even happened. But if it does happen, I don't feel like I need to come to you about it. You should be coming to me about it. Like your willingness to try to repair the issue will determine whether or not I look at you the same again. Then that just goes for the relationship inside the house or outside the house. But I'm glad she brought it up.
I think the only circumstance where length of the relationship matters is if you're in the like honeymoon phase, quote unquote, um, of either one. Um, if you're in a very, very early relationship with somebody, um, those beginning stages make the relationship fragile because you're starting to discover things about each other. And if they or you create a negative impression at the beginning, it's a lot easier for that relationship to end. Um, for example, uh, I've had a friend that we had been friends for maybe a year. But every time I'd go to hang out with her, she was always like hours late. And after the like couple times that I tried to hang out with her, I just kind of gave up. I was like, all right, never mind. This is not going to work. Um, Same with like because of the way I am and because of my condition, I don't actually get to hang out in person with people a lot. For the most part, it's family. Um, so most of my communication is maintained over text, calls, stuff like that. Um, and if I've even had this behavior since like high school. If I feel like I'm pulling teeth to try and get you to engage with me, I won't participate in the relationship anymore. Um and yeah, so at those beginning stages, I don't, no matter whether it's a friend relationship or a proper relationship, um I think that's the only time where maybe they would actually have less of a say or less of a preference. I don't know what word to use. Than a long term relationship. Like if I had a random friend that I had just met and they're like, I don't like this other friend of yours for whatever reason, was like, I don't want you to be friends with them or I'm just not going to hang out with you. I'll be like, okay, cool. Well, she and I have been friends for like 15 years. So bye. I guess we can't be friends then. Um, and ironically, I did get into a situation like that um, when I was in college where I was friends with somebody we weren't like that. But we hung out and we worked together. Um and when I was with my husband, when we first started dating, I think we might have been like a year and a half in. She, because of reasons, she was trying to advise me to break up with him. And like she was basically like encouraging me to sleep around instead. Like, you need to try people out and see what's out there and blah blah blah. And or I think actually this was before I met my husband. It was after I broke up with my previous long-term boyfriend. Um and I was like lamenting to her about like my relationship and stuff like that. But yeah, she was encouraging me to like go drinking, go clubbing, go sleeping around and stuff like that. And I stopped talking to her after that because I was like, oof, this personality difference, this is not going to work. I can't. I'm like, you can live your life. If you live your life and that's what you do, then sure. But for you to influence me to live, no, you must not know me at all. Um, so I cut her off, and she was, I remember she was saying stuff when I first started dating McKinley. And uh, that was when I fully was like, I'm not talking to you anymore. So I've I've been in those situations before, the ultimatums where one friend tries to make you choose one relationship over another, whether it's a friendship or whatnot. And it's usually who's the closest and not who's been friends the longest. Because I've cut off friends that were longtime friends for something they said or did um, before. So for me, it's just a matter of like boundaries, how you behave around me, how I feel when I'm around you. Um, whether it's been 3 months or 3 years, um, I there's certain things where I won't be able to stand for it. But at the same time, longer friendships will get more consideration from me. Um, Especially if I understand the reasoning behind what you do. Like I know some women are like, if you don't hang out with me frequently, if you don't make an effort to see me, then I can't be your friend. If you're not going to be like constantly texting me or whatever, um then I'm not going to be able to be your friend. uh but I like, for example, my best friend, we never see each other in person, like very, very rarely. Um, I think the last time we saw each other was before her son was born. And but if she goes weeks without talking to me, I understand why. She has a special needs son. She has another infant. She uh, is a teacher in school. Um, so she's dealing with a lot. And I'm not going to like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you giving me attention? Um, but I don't hold my husband at the same level because we've been because we're of our relationship level. I'm like, if I go the whole day without hearing, or like, for example, if he's overseas and I go with a week without hearing from him, I'm gonna be like, all right, something's either seriously wrong or he doesn't care about me. Um, so yeah, that again, it just goes back to the complexities where it it matters the length of time, but it doesn't. And I think the reason why she's associating the length of time with the value of the relationship is because typically we're not going to hold on to not good relationships for that long. If you have a friend that you've been friends with for 15, 20, 30 years, um, chances are it's because you align, they respect you, you respect them, you have similar values, you care about each other, they show that they care about you. And so it's not really about the length of time, it's about the quality of the relationship allowing it to last that long. I don't think, not many people out there have the patience to hang around for somebody that's a problem. So I think that's why she's making that parallel, because it's the fact that the long-term relationships typically are the good relationships, and potentially, depending on her situation, maybe she dates around, maybe her relationships don't last very long, and so she's going to skew her belief that the friendships are more important because she hasn't had a significant other in that circumstance. Because once you have a husband, once you have kids with a person, once you have a house with a person, it does dramatically change how you interact, how you tolerate them, and how you treat them and how you let them treat you. Granted, that is not me saying you should put up with abusive behavior. If a, someone is being abusive to you, friend, relationship, ditch that relationship. Does not matter how long you've been with them. But if they're a decent person, you're probably going to have a very long relationship with them as long as you align in some ways.
Truth be told, we hold on to things that we shouldn't hold on to longer than we were meant to in the first place. So that length of time that she was talking about, that don't really mean nothing. It just means that you put up with behavior that you're not really fond of longer than you would anybody else. I don't know how many times that has been a conversation where folks will be questioning, should I just do away with this? Because it always seemed like they jealous of me or whatever the case is. You can meet somebody right now and they be way more qualified to replace the person that's been there. It's not about if I hang out with you every day or not. It's about what do you add value to my life? Are you toxic? Are we going into different trajectories? Do you respect me as a person? Do you hold me in high regard with intrinsic values that are actually positive? Or are you a burden? Am I walking around with extra weight on me for no reason at all? Like, we got lives to live. I don't expect to be around you all the time. What I don't want to deal with are liars, manipulators, cheaters, etc., etc. You fit in those categories. It's a universal pet peeve. That's for anybody. So if it's a scenario, how can I say this? If you are friends with someone who's in a relationship with someone and you have to put them in you got to choose me or them, that's a problem. Why would you do that? Because real friends would understand, you got a life outside of them. It's like this is one of those conversations that people really need to have with their homeboys, their homegirls, all, especially if you just lingering around entertaining somebody that there's an expiration date on. You don't have no business still talking to them at all, but you still do. I would have that talk if you haven't, because like it don't make no sense for you to tell me that me cutting you off and forgiving you is synonymous to, I don't know, keeping you there and still allowing you to continue on with those destructive patterns. You wouldn't, I don't think anybody should keep anybody in their space that is disruptive to their growth. It's one thing if it's like here and there and it's not nothing major. It's something completely different when it is just who they are. So whether or not I stay in this relationship an extra year and I shouldn't have, knowing I shouldn't have, and you mad about it, that's on me or her. But just because I tolerated that longer than I tolerated your stuff, that don't mean there's not going to be a cutoff point for either. In a perfect world, everybody who was on some BS would just have to go completely. Nobody would waste their time with fake friends, fake love, none of that. People would just go on their merry way and make space for the right pieces to fall right where they needed to. But it don't work like that. Some of it is just prolonged, and people who have to get tired of it. If you're not tired of it, they're gonna keep putting up with it. But again, like my final thoughts in general, hold everybody accountable. You'll know if they worth keeping around or not. Their effort will speak for themselves. And if there's no effort, you got your answer. I know people right now that have crossed me. I'll never ever get any type of anything back from it. I know where they stand, so I'm good on them. Like you showed me what's up. All right. Respect your own personal boundaries. Protect your peace by all means. Then don't let nobody gaslight you into believing that just because they having a hissy fit over you cutting them off, that you wrong for cutting them off. I cut you off for a reason. Don't worry about them. I'll figure that out. Meanwhile, you still did what you did, so this still has to happen. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, to to summarize, I like you were saying, it's kind of a by the situation choice where there's a lot of factors that you have to consider before cutting somebody off, relationship or not. Granted, there's probably going to be a lot more to consider with a relationship, especially if you are far into the relationship, and as I said, you have a lot of ties um, to each other. um, but you should still have your set boundaries, your expectations, make them known. Obviously, if they can't read your mind, if you can't really get mad at somebody if they do something that annoys you that they didn't know would actually annoy you. um, fun example. When my husband and I were very, very first together, we got in a very minor fight because he does not like adhesive things that are like tape, sticky things, because he associates it with like germs and stuff. Um, I thought he was exaggerating, and I had this like box of band aids, and I basically threw them on him, and he freaked out. And he was so mad, and I was like, I didn't know that you were I thought you were just exaggerating. I didn't realize that it was a like legit phobia. So it's like when you're learning people, when you're in relationships, there has to be elements of forgiveness, because um there is no perfect world. We're never going to be free of mistakes. We're never going to be people that are always on time and always present and always like saying the right things in the perfect order. Like, that's not possible. But what we can do is show up and be there when we're able to be honest with them, be forward, and like your character, who you are, who you present yourself to be, should be as honest as possible. um and then uh honor their boundaries, honor what they need from you. And if you have a friendship or a relationship where they have a history of honoring your boundaries, being respectful to you, showing that they care, um, showing that they are a good friend or good relationship, they're allowed you there are allowances for forgiveness that build up. Like, they can make mistakes if they are a no show and you've been friends for years and you see that they keep coming for you and come visit. You're more easily able to forgive them. But if you have somebody that's chronically making these issues over time and they're showing that they don't care, they're not willing to work on it, then those are the relationships that you should reconsider. So I don't and I don't think people actually do. I don't think people are like, well, I've been friends with you for 30 years, so I'm going to forgive you even though you killed my mother. That was a very extreme example. I really hope you don't stay friends with people who do that. But it's very, as I said, very extreme example. But it to illustrate, time doesn't matter. It's the person that matters. It's the situation that matters. How they treat you, how they act around you, and whether or not they show they care in the capacity that they're able to care. If you are faced with that decision of like, this person, like, to cut somebody off, most people are patient enough that it's not going to be like, you did this once, we're done. And unless it's like really, really bad. And so I think, yeah, that's really what should be taken into consideration. Granted, like I said, if you've been in a relationship a long time, you probably owe them more consideration, because chances are they've shown you already that they care, and maybe they're just going through a rough time or whatever. But again, respect your own boundaries. And if somebody very clearly crosses the line, it makes sense to cut somebody off regardless of how long you've been in a relationship with them. I've heard of friendships of 30 years, 40 years dissolving for various reasons. I mean, we see like even parental relationships with children dissolving because the child isn't happy with the parent, how the parents are acting. So I think this is not going to have a cut and dry answer. As much as we want it to be neatly tied up into a bow, this is this is the solution that you should follow. Here's the recipe for life. It's messy, just like life is, and it'll always be situational. One ending of a friendship or one friendship, one relationship is always going to have a different balance than another one. And there's always going to be like different factors to each situation that will determine what the answer should be. And sadly, even with all the consideration, you still might feel like you made the wrong decision. People, like we were saying earlier, people will drag out friendships for a really long time that aren't actually good for them because they keep forgiving them, thinking they'll get better, hoping they'll get better, or just like underplaying what they're doing. And then we've also made the mistake of ending relationships that we wish we hadn't ended. Um, so yeah, it's a super complicated answer. Um, and I guess my best advice is just pay attention to your gut. Um, I know that's so cliche, but really that tells us how we feel about people. And sometimes our gut knows more about the people than we do. Because we are emotional beings, we like to cling. If something is familiar, we're more likely to prefer it over someone that we're not familiar with. And on the flip side, something that's bright, shiny, new, friendship, relationship, is always going to come off as more enticing to friendships than like long term friendships, which are more worn out and, you know, less shiny. So we have to be aware of those feelings, aware of our own internal biases that might distract us from making the decision that's best for us. But I think generally, as long as they're not damaging your health, as long as they're not subverting your life and trying to like get at your husband or hurt you or convince you to leave your friends, and they're healthy, I don't think it really matters how long you've been together. Um, just as long as they're good to you.
Great advice. I mean, yeah, everybody it's going to vary for y'all. I do hope you got something from it. I mean, personally, like bottom line is respect your boundaries, your truth. It's your timeline. Can nobody dictate that for you? And don't let nobody try to manipulate you into holding on longer than you should. Period. Shout outs to Chef. Shout outs to you, see for pulling up. Shout out to the people who tapped in this evening. We back tomorrow, WrestleMania season. We got to talk. Y'all make sure y'all pull up doing a down tomorrow. So y'all be on the lookout for that. But enjoy the weekend. If you got to go out, be safe on the road. And do me a solid before y'all go. Oh. What's the goddamn button? Peace.
Have a good weekend, guys.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the